snow. Winds reaching 75 to 80 miles per hour. Over 11,000 flights canceled across the country in a single morning. And it is not over yet. Right now, at this very moment, a bomb cyclone named Winter Storm Hernando is detonating off the east coast of the United States. The National Weather Service is calling this, quote, a potentially historic winter storm, and meteorologists are saying the word unprecedented, and they do not use that word lightly. In the next few minutes, I am going to give you the exact timing for when this storm arrives in your specific city. Not general information, exact times, when it starts, when it peaks, and when it ends. I will show you hour by hour what is happening from Virginia to Boston, from Long Island to Rhode Island, including what nobody else is telling you about the second and third threats still coming behind this one. Hey, quick question before we go further. Drop your city and state in the comments right now. Tell me what the storm looks like where you are, or tell me what you want to know about what is coming to your area. Thousands of viewers are already doing this and getting personalized updates in the comments. If you know someone in New York, New Jersey, Boston, Long Island, Providence, or anywhere along the Northeast Corridor, share this video with them right now. They need to see this. Do not wait until it is too late. Here is what you need to understand. This is not just a snowstorm. This is a once-in-a-generation event that is already breaking records set in 1978. By the time this is over, some cities in New England may see more snow in 48 hours than they typically receive in an entire winter. But first, you need to understand exactly how bad this has already gotten and why the worst is still hours away. Here is the important part. As of this morning, February 22, 2026, a state of emergency has been declared across more than 20 counties in New York. 100 members of the New York National Guard with 25 military vehicles have already been deployed across Long Island, New York City, and the Hudson Valley. Governor Kathy Hochul activated the State Emergency Operations Center early this morning, and officials are not sugarcoating what is coming. At John F. Kennedy International Airport, 63% of all arrivals have already been canceled. At LaGuardia, that number sits at 63% as well. Newark Liberty is showing 42% of arrivals gone. Nationwide, over 11,200 flights have been canceled or delayed as of Sunday morning, according to FlightAware. But that was not the worst of it. The National Blend of Models, the most comprehensive forecast tool available, is painting 2 to 3 feet of snow across Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, southern New York, Long Island, New Jersey, Delaware, and eastern Maryland. That is a potential accumulation zone covering tens of millions of Americans. Here is what nobody else is covering right now. If Boston receives the high-end estimates being discussed by the National Weather Service office in Norton, Massachusetts, and those estimates go as high as 35 inches, this storm will shatter the record set by the historic blizzard of 1,978, which dropped 28.6 inches in 2 days. That record has stood for nearly 50 years. It may not survive this weekend, and the situation is about to get much worse. But first, you need to understand why this storm is so different from anything we have seen in decades. What makes Winter Storm Hernando so catastrophically powerful is the speed at which it is intensifying. Meteorologists have a term for this: bomb cyclogenesis. Think of it like a balloon being inflated in fast motion. A normal storm deepens gradually over days. This system has been dropping in pressure at a rate that qualifies it as a bomb cyclone, officially defined as a drop of at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. At 7 in the morning on Sunday, this low-pressure system was sitting at 1,004 millibars off the Outer Banks of North Carolina. By noon, it had already plunged to 996 millibars, a drop of 8 millibars in just 6 hours. By Sunday evening, it crashed to 987 millibars. By Monday morning, forecast models are projecting 966 millibars, with some ensemble members pushing it down to 964. That is a drop of 40 millibars in approximately 36 hours. That is catastrophic deepening by any meteorological standard. When a storm deepens that rapidly, that close to the coastline, it does not just pull moisture in, it creates a vacuum effect that generates hurricane-force winds at the same time as it is dumping feet, not inches, of snow. The two threats combine into something that is genuinely life-threatening. Could anyone have seen this coming? The answer is yes, and the warnings have been out for days. That raises a different question. Why are there still people in blizzard warning zones who have not prepared? What comes next is critical, because the timing of this storm is not the same for every city, and the difference of a few hours could mean everything for your safety. Here is your critical timeline, organized from where the storm is striking first to where the worst is still coming. Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. This storm began reaching you late Saturday into early Sunday morning. Snow showers filling into West Virginia, Northern Virginia, and Central Maryland through midnight Saturday. Do not be fooled by what looked like a slow start. Dynamic cooling behind this rapidly deepening system is the critical factor. Rain changed over to snow during the day on Sunday, and that change came with a vengeance. Philadelphia and Trenton, your heavy snowfall rates exceeding 1 inch per hour began arriving Sunday morning and intensified through the afternoon. Wind gusts reaching 55 miles per hour are combining with snowfall to produce blinding conditions on I-95. The Pennsylvania Turnpike and I-76 are not roads you want to be on right now. New York City and Long Island, listen carefully. This is important. Your blizzard warning is active from Sunday morning through Monday morning. The heaviest snowfall is arriving overnight Sunday. Snowfall rates exceeding 3 inches per hour are expected between approximately 10 p.m. Sunday and 6 a.m. Monday. Wind gusts will reach 75 to 80 miles per hour along coastal sections. At those speeds, snow is not falling, it is blowing horizontal. Visibility will drop to zero. Travel is not just dangerous, it is impossible. New York City is looking at 2 to 3 feet of total accumulation, and the national blend of models, which tends to be conservative, is not backing down from those numbers. Note for editor data correction. Earlier reports from some outlets cited 20 to 24 inches for NYC. The most complete forecast data from the national blend of models paints 2 to 3 feet for New York City, Long Island, and surrounding areas. We are going with the higher, more complete forecast. Boston, your timeline is different and in some ways worse. The heaviest snowfall does not arrive until Monday morning. Between 5 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Monday, snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour are expected, with some areas potentially seeing 3 inches per hour. Wind gusts across Cape Cod and the islands could reach 75 to 80 miles per hour. The NWS office in Norton has already issued a warning of potentially historic conditions, with Providence forecast to receive 21 inches at minimum and a high-end estimate of 35 inches. Providence and Rhode Island, this is your biggest snowstorm of the season. Wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour. Combined with wet, heavy snow means power outages are not a possibility. They are an expectation. The real danger, however, is still hours away for New England. And what comes next in the overnight hours Sunday into Monday is something meteorologists describe as a 6 to 8 hour window of true blizzard conditions, unlike anything most of us have ever experienced. This morning in New York City, grocery store lines stretched down city blocks. People were at the stores before 7 a.m., pushing carts filled with bread, water, batteries, and canned food. Shelves were already thinning by mid-morning. Gas stations near major highways reported long lines. The New York City Department of Sanitation worked through the night. Workers in hard hats were up past midnight, outfitting garbage trucks with tire chains and snow plows, turning sanitation fleets into storm response vehicles by 3 and 4 in the morning. Picture what tonight looks like in these cities. It is Sunday evening. The snow has been falling for hours. At first, it was manageable 2-3 inches on the ground. Then the snowfall rate jumped. 1 inch per hour became 2, 2 became 3. Thunder snow cracked overhead in New Jersey and Long Island, a sign that the atmosphere is so charged with moisture and instability that lightning is firing inside a blizzard. The wind, which had been strong all day, surged past 50, then 60, then 75 miles per hour along the shore. Every streetlight became a blur. Every window went white. And if you were in your car anywhere on the Long Island Expressway, on the Garden State Parkway, on I-95 through Connecticut, you were not moving. You were stopped, stranded. Remember those 11,000 flight cancellations we mentioned earlier? For tens of thousands of people, that means missed connections, missed medical appointments, missed everything. Hotels near airports sold out within hours of the cancellation notices going out. Families who were supposed to fly home Sunday are now facing Monday or Tuesday if they can get a flight at all. Here is the important part. This is not hype. This is not exaggeration. The National Weather Service used the phrase, widespread disruptions to daily life, and that is the National Weather Service, a federal agency that is trained to be conservative with its language. When they write those words, they mean it. And here is something that almost nobody is talking about. This winter has already been an extreme season before today. Boston has received more than 40 inches of snow this winter, over 8 inches above average and more than double last year's total of 28 inches. New York City is sitting at 22.3 inches before this storm even adds its totals. Last winter, the city saw only 12.9 inches total. This storm alone could double that. If you are in the affected zone right now, whether that is New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, or anywhere along the I-95 corridor, drop your location in the comments. Tell me what it looks like outside your window right now. I am reading every single comment and responding with specific information for your area. Share what you are seeing so everyone can follow along. The situation on the ground is extraordinary, and what happened to transportation and infrastructure is a story all its own. Here is the important part that affects everyone, not just those in the storm path. This is not just a snowstorm shutting down roads. We are looking at a total transportation collapse, a cascading power grid crisis, and a humanitarian logistics failure, all happening simultaneously across one of the most densely populated corridors in the United States. 3 disasters at once. The entire I-95 corridor from Virginia to Massachusetts has been designated a zone of major to extreme travel disruption. Eastern New Jersey and Long Island are classified as extreme travel delay areas, which means travel is physically impossible, not just inadvisable. Emergency vehicles are struggling to move. The blizzard warning zone for New York City runs from Sunday morning through Monday morning, covering all 5 boroughs. The MTA suspended rail service on multiple lines. Bridges and tunnels are under restriction for high-profile vehicles. The power situation is equally alarming. Wet, heavy snow falling at more than 3 inches per hour, loading up on power lines, combined with wind gusts pushing 75 to 80 miles per hour, is a formula for widespread outages. Power restoration crews from utility companies across the Mid-Atlantic and New England have been pre-positioned. But with winds at those speeds, crews cannot work on aerial lines. They have to wait. And in the meantime, homes go dark and cold. Hospitals and emergency services in storm-affected areas went on modified operations protocols as early as Saturday evening. Elective procedures were postponed. Staff were asked to shelter in place overnight so that essential personnel would be available Monday morning. But here is what most people do not realize. The storm's most severe impacts will still be occurring during the Monday morning rush hour, the window when millions of people would normally be getting into their cars or onto commuter rail. In Boston, peak conditions run from 5 a.m. through 4 p.m. on Monday. In New York, the overnight blizzard conditions persist through the morning commute. This is not a weekend storm that is done by the time you wake up for work. This is a storm that will be at its worst when you are expected to leave the house. The last time any city in New England faced a storm system with this combination of snowfall and wind intensity was 1978. That is 48 years ago. The government response to Winter Storm Hernando has been one of the most preemptive in recent memory, and credit belongs where it is due. On February 21st, the day before the storm's main impact, New York Governor Kathy Hochul declared a state of emergency across 20 counties, including the Bronx, Kings, Nassau, Queens, Richmond, Suffolk, and Westchester. That is rare. Most emergency declarations come after damage has occurred. This one came before a single inch of snow had fallen in New York City. 100 members of the New York National Guard with 25 vehicles were staged across the lower Hudson Valley, Long Island, and New York City, beginning Sunday morning. The State Emergency Operations Center activated at dawn. Travel bans were put in place in multiple counties, with police authorized to ticket or tow any non-emergency vehicle on the roads during peak conditions. The city of Boston pre-treated roads with brine solution beginning Saturday. Plow and sanding crews across Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts were on round-the-clock 12-hour rotating shifts beginning Sunday morning. Rhode Island's Department of Transportation activated its Emergency Operations Center and coordinated with the National Guard for potential rescue operations. At the federal level, FEMA Region 2 pre-positioned assets in New Jersey and New York. The Federal Aviation Administration issued ground stops at major airports hours before the worst conditions, preventing the dangerous scenario of aircraft being stranded on tarmac during peak snowfall. But a legitimate question remains. With tens of millions of people in the warning zone and days of advance notice, why were grocery store shelves still being stripped on Sunday morning? Why were gas stations still seeing long lines the day the storm hit? Are Americans preparing less for extreme weather events, even as those events become more intense? That is a question worth sitting with. What we do know is this: the official response was serious, organized, and early. Whether it will be enough will only be known in the hours ahead. Here is the important part about what this means going forward. Winter Storm Hernando does not exist in isolation. It is the centerpiece of a broader and deeply abnormal winter weather pattern that has been building for weeks and will continue for weeks more. The atmospheric setup driving this storm, a powerful trough, extending from Alaska southeastward into eastern Canada, combined with a blocking ridge over the Pacific Southwest, is the same configuration that meteorologists say will continue generating storm systems into early March. Within the next 48 to 72 hours, a clipper system is expected to push through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, dropping additional snowfall on top of what Hernando leaves behind. More critically, a second system developing behind that, tracked by both the European and American GFS models, could produce a snow or ice event along the I-95 corridor around February 26th and 27th. Here is what nobody else is telling you yet. The models are currently showing that system as potentially too warm for significant snow, but that calculation assumes normal ground surface temperatures. After 2 to 3 feet of snow on the ground, those temperatures will be dramatically colder than the models anticipate. That storm may be more dangerous and more wintry than the current forecasts suggest. And then, in the first days of March, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, a larger Arctic blast is being tracked that could push all the way to the Gulf Coast and East Coast. That is not confirmed yet, but the pattern supports it. Longer term, March is transitioning from La Niña to a neutral ENSO pattern. That shift typically correlates with an increase in severe weather activity across the Mississippi Valley and Ohio Valley. March is when the atmosphere becomes volatile, cold air still present, Gulf moisture increasing. The severe weather season may open aggressively this year. I will be monitoring all of it closely. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss any of the updates. After this pattern, long-range models are also showing a potential brief but dramatic warm-up across the southern plains. Texas is looking at temperatures pushing from the 60s on Monday into the 80s by Tuesday, and even the 90s by Wednesday near San Antonio, Austin, and Amarillo. That kind of temperature gradient between a still frozen northeast and a rapidly warming south is exactly the fuel that drives severe weather. We will cover that in detail as it develops. One final question. 48 years. That is how long the record from the 1978 blizzard has stood. If Providence really does receive 35 inches from this storm, do you think we are ready as a country for winters that regularly produce events like this? Or has our preparedness not kept pace with the storms?